She's wearing a really nice dress, and I didn't recognize it. I said, Tina, you look lovely. Where'd you get that dress? And she said, I just bought it this week. I said, but honey, we're going to budget and we're going to save. We're going to cut out that extra spending. And she said, I know. I just went to try it on. And I was trying it on, and Satan tempted me. I said, well, what do you mean Satan tempted me? He tempted me. He told me how good I looked in it. And I said, okay, well, then what'd you do? She said, I used scripture. I said, Satan, get thee behind me. And I said, okay, and then what happened? He said it looked even better from behind. But if you don't pass the baton successfully, you can't win the race. And this morning, each of us are running with a baton in our hands. We're running a race. And I want to talk this morning about the race that we're running, and specifically the legacy that we're going to leave. Because the baton that we're passing is that legacy. What are people going to say when our life is over? I know that inside each one of us, God has planted the seeds. So many times we live on a fantasy island I call Someday Island. Some fantasy island. Someday I'll get right with the Lord. Someday I'll really allow the Lord to use me. Someday I'll let God do what He wants to do in my life. It's a fantasy island, Someday Island. We got to get off of that. Because what we do now determines the legacy that we're going to. You can be the first one to pass that legacy on. If you don't have that, you can be the one to stand up, to be a new generation and say, I'm going to live for Jesus. And my family, my world, everyone that knows me, they're going to know what I see. God's special possession. That's really cool to think about. That you are God's special possession. He has called you to do something. We have to know our purpose. And many times I'll hear people say, well, my purpose is to be a Christian. My purpose is to serve God, to worship Him with my life. And I would agree, and I think that's a great start. But we have to get deeper. If you say your purpose is to serve God, then I would say how? How would you do it? What specific thing are you doing that God has called you to do to live out the mission and the purpose and the plan that He has? Who has time these days? Who has extra time? But I tell you what, we all have 86,400 seconds to spend every single day. And we get to choose how we're going to spend it. But yet God restored him. Jesus said to him, Peter, in spite of all that you have done, in spite of your failures, guess what? I'm going to build my church on you. Jesus said, Peter, you're my rock. I'm going to build the church on you. And Jesus is saying the same thing to you and I today. In spite of our failures, in spite of our shortcomings, He wants to build His church on us.